Hi kids, and welcome to Disney Animation Reviews. I'm Josiah Melky, and today we're talking about an animated Disney feature that I personally like, but I feel like it's been criminally underrated over the last 30 years. Today's topic is on Disney's animated feature film, Oliver and Company. Oliver and Company was the first animated Disney feature to start production under the new leadership of Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg, both of who had previously worked at Paramount. After The Black Cauldron came out in 1985, Eisner and Katzenberg pitched a meeting where Disney animators and artists could pitch ideas for future animated feature films, a meeting infamously called The Gong Show. After John Musker and Ron Clements promoted or suggested future Disney ideas for what would eventually become animated features The Little Mermaid and Treasure Island in Space, eventually retitled Treasure Planet, story artist Pete Young suggested Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist with dogs. Eisner and Katzenberg loved the idea and immediately greenlighted production on the film. From what I've read online, the film was originally supposed to be a lot darker, but ultimately it got a lighthearted tone, as is often the case with animated Disney features. One thing I forgot to talk about on the Great Mouse Detective review is that during the 80s, the mid-80s, computer animation started becoming a new tool for the animators. Although they had used computer animation a little bit on The Black Cauldron and The Great Mouse Detective, particularly the gears of Big Ben during the climactic clock tower chase scene in The Great Mouse Detective were animated using the computers, Oliver and Company really brought computer animation into the spotlight to create things like taxi cabs and skyscrapers and Fagin's motor scooter, and in particular the climactic chase scene through the subway. Meanwhile, some new Disney animators who had been trained under the Nine Old Men handled the traditional animation. People like Hendel Butoy and Mike Gabriel, who later directed The Rescuers Down Under. Gabriel also went on to co-direct Pocahontas. And Disney animators Ruben Aquino, Glenn Keane, and Mark Henn also worked on the film. Oliver and Company was first released to theaters just in time for Thanksgiving in 1988. Its exact release date was November 18th, the 60th birthday of Mickey Mouse. That means when Oliver celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, Mickey Mouse will be 90 already. Man, time flies fast. During the time they were working on Oliver, in 1987, remember Great Mouse Detective came out in 86, in 87, Disney didn't have an animated feature. Well, they had something animated with the Brave Little Toaster, but that was made by a different company, and Disney only owns the distribution rights for that film. Also during the late 80s is when they started doing more and more animated Disney TV shows, like DuckTales, starring Scrooge McDuck and his nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, starring the 100 Acre Wood Gang. In the summer of 1988, Disney came out with their live-action and animated film Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I personally am not going to see because it doesn't appeal to me, but it was a box office success and got really good critical reviews, which is good because Disney needed a hit, and it won 3 Oscars, including Best Visual Effects, marking the first Disney feature film in over 15 years since Bedknobs and Broomsticks to win an Oscar, and the first Disney film in over 20 years to win multiple Oscars since Mary Poppins. 1988 was also when Pixar released their first computer animation to win an Oscar, and Pixar came out with the short film Tin Toy, which won the Oscar for Best Animated Short Film. But more importantly, Tin Toy provided the idea of toys being alive, which later became the origins of Toy Story. But today we're talking about Oliver and Company. As I said, it was released to theaters for Thanksgiving 1988, on the same day as Mickey Mouse's birthday, November 18th. Despite having a rocky start, because it opened the same weekend as Don Bluth's Land Before Time, his big dinosaur film that's now had like 8 or 9 direct-to-video sequels, by the end of the year, Oliver and Company managed to surpass The Land Before Time at the box office. But despite its box office success, Oliver and Company got mixed reviews. It's only the third animated Disney feature after Robin Hood and The Black Cauldron to get a rotten score on the Rotten Tomatoes site. And of the films we reviewed so far, it's the lowest rated film on the Rotten Tomatoes site at only 44%. But like I said, I personally enjoy it for its music and characters and stuff. So here's my thoughts on Oliver and Company, starting with the opening shot of New York City. Right away, we get a helicopter shot of the Twin Towers. And yes, in today's home video releases of the film, they still include that opening shot, even now, years later, after the September 11th attacks. We get our opening song performed by Huey Lewis and co-written by Howard Ashman, who later went on to write the songs for The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. And then we're introduced to our main character, Oliver. In this version, he's a kitten who is the only cat not adopted from a box off the streets of New York City, and is left to fend for his own. He meets up with a street-smart dog named Dodger, voiced by the great singer Billy Joel in his acting debut, and they team up to steal some hot dogs. They succeed, but Dodger runs off with the hot dogs, and he sings his song, Why Should I Worry? Anyone who knows Billy Joel knows he's a great singer, but some of the animators were worried that Billy Joel wasn't acting material, but he actually does a really good job with Dodger, and I love his song, Why Should I Worry? Oliver follows Dodger to an old boat near the docks where he meets the rest of Dodger's gang. All dogs. The little Chihuahua Tito, voiced by Cheech Marin, the Great Dane Einstein, voiced by Richard Mulligan, Francis the Bulldog, voiced by Roscoe Lee Brown, and the only girl of the group, an Afghan hound named Rita, voiced by Cheryl Lee Ralph, but also by Ruth Pointer when she sings her song, Streets of Gold. The dogs live on a boat near the docks with their down-and-out owner Fagin, voiced by Dom DeLuise, an actor that some people, like my friend Rachel Wagner, thinks was hilariously miscast in the film. Apparently in the original Dickens novel, Fagin is a lot more villainous and scheming, whereas here he's kind of a wimp. And he owes money to this mob boss, Sykes, who my friend Rachel says is a throwaway villain, and feels like Sykes isn't a good enough villain, because most of the villainous acts are done by his two Dobermans, Roscoe and DeSoto, who I have to admit are probably more villainous than Sykes himself is, but I actually really like Fagin, and I love his voice actor, Dom DeLuise. From the stuff I've seen him in, Dom DeLuise was a pretty funny guy. Sykes tells Fagin he owes him money, and Fagin is trying to come up with all that money, but he's only got a few days to come up with it all. Luckily, he's got his dogs to help him out. Plus Oliver when he protects himself by scratching DeSoto's nose. The next day, while they're hot-wiring a limousine, a mishap occurs and Oliver is taken in by a little girl named Jenny, who originally was going to be Penny from the Rescuers. But the difference between Penny and Jenny is for all the problems the Rescuers has, one thing they got right is giving Penny a good backstory about how she's an orphan who wants to be adopted. Jenny doesn't have much of a backstory. We're told she lives with her butler Winston and her snobbish pet poodle Georgette. Georgette's voiced by Bette Midler, who also gets a good song. But her parents are often away on business and don't spend much time with her. That's not a very good backstory for a little girl. But anyway, Jenny takes in Oliver, much to the disapproval of Winston and Georgette, but Jenny and Oliver grow quickly attached to each other. But the dogs, believing Oliver has been kidnapped, go to rescue him, but Oliver wants to stay with Jenny. But to stay with Jenny, first he has to help Fagin stop Sykes, after Sykes kidnaps her, and Oliver and the dogs have to team up to get her back. Plus, Fagin does to figure out how he's gonna get Sykes' money, and so a bunch of shenanigans occur in the last half of the film. Oliver and Company, I agree, isn't perfect, but it's not a total drag. Love the voice cast. Disney Feature Animation has always been good with casting their characters, and Oliver and Company is no exception. When you've got talents like Billy Joel, Cheech Marin, and Bette Midler, it's bound to be a good film. I also really like the songs. While some of the songs aren't as memorable as songs from later films we would get in the Renaissance era, like Aladdin and The Little Mermaid, there are some good songs here. The opening song, Once Upon a Time in New York City, is performed by Huey Lewis and co-written by Howard Ashman, like I said. I really like Why Should I Worry and Rita's song, Streets of Gold. Georgette has a Broadway-style song, or what starts off just her in her room, but then quickly turns into a Broadway number by the end, Fervent Isn't Easy. That's probably my least favorite song in the film, but it's not terrible. And Jenny's song, Good Company, is probably the one outlier of the music in this movie, but it should be noted that one of the songwriters on her song is Rob Mankoff, who later co-directed The Lion King. Oliver and Company is directed by story artist and animator during the 80s, George Scribner, in his directing debut. He went on to direct the Mickey Mouse short The Prince and the Pauper, and the Disney theme park attraction, Mickey's Bellhar Magic. Another thing that I personally like about Oliver is, while the animation isn't perfect, the characters look kind of flat and more two-dimensional than usual, and even with computer animation to animate stuff like the subway chase scene at the end and Fagin's motor scooter, you can't really tell it was computers because it's a traditional hand-drawn animated film. But I do like that Disney took the time to promote real-life products within Oliver. If you look around, you'll see ads for stuff like USA Today, the newspaper, Kodak, Disney's photo company, and my personal favorite soft drink, besides root beer, Coca-Cola. I love me some Coca-Cola. So, Oliver isn't a perfect film, I'll admit, but it's not a total letdown either. It's definitely not as bad as The Black Cauldron, or later Disney animated duds like Home on the Range. Oliver and Company is a serviceable, if yet somewhat underrated, animated Disney feature film. Oliver and Company's latest home video release was its 25th anniversary edition Blu-ray release in the summer of 2013, with such bonus features as a sing-along version of the movie, a short behind-the-scenes look at the making of the film, a feature on the animated animals from Disney feature animation history, the film's original trailers and TV spots, and a couple of classic animated Disney shorts, including the Oscar-winning 1941 short Land of Oz starring Mickey and Pluto. And the Blu-ray is also a combo pack that includes the 20th anniversary edition DVD copy from February 2009, with a lot of the same bonus features as the Blu-ray, but instead of a whole sing-along version of the movie, we only get 2 sing-along songs, Why Should I Worry and Streets of Gold, which were previously on Disney sing-along tapes. We also get a game called Oliver's Big City Challenge. So, I'm not really sure where I stand on Oliver and Company. I recently rewatched it a few days ago for this review, and I know it's not perfect, but the voice cast and the songs make it worth watching. So if you haven't seen Oliver and Company, give it a one-time watch every couple years or so. I'm sure you'll find something to like about it. Well, that's all for now. I'm really excited because next time we're here, we're finally starting the Disney Renaissance era with The Little Mermaid. Until then, remember, when you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Goodbye!